When you do something, you do it for a purpose. When you make a setting of a universe, there needs to be things happening and reasons as to why. When we go for Warhammer 40,000, we have humanity, the main center of things. Then we have alien threats: Dark Eldar, Necrons, Orcs, Tau, Tyranids, and Chaos. Each in their own way combating the Imperium and its all empire in all fronts. The Necrons in 3rd edition are a lost civilization being controlled by the Cantan, which are overpowered, where to almost nothing can stop them in their awakening. The Eldar are an dying race, seeking many paths to reinstating their empire and regrow their numbers, but there is nothing to be found other than the shrinking of their population from one fight to another. The Orcs are nothing but a brutal force to be reckoned with, slaughtering anyone in their path. They don't care who it is, as long as they can fight the strongest fighter in the 40k universe. That's all that matters. Tyranids come from the dark void of the galaxy, ready to come into the universe and consume what's left of the galaxy itself. Chaos, they come in the unknown areas of the Imperium to influence and corrupt those into chaos and cause havoc on each planet. Dark Eldar, they are the worst creations of what Eldar try to avoid, going around in the galaxy to collect their cattle for their pleasure or for their experiments, and so much more to fuck around with. Unfortunately though, that is not what we have today. We have Eldar and Necrons that are being humanized. This is what Eldar and Necrons used to look like, and this is what we have now. Lore-wise, Eldar are just less racist and trying to avoid to say anything before they go to a HR, and Necrons are just old men arguing with each other.
How dare you, greenskins, getting on my property!
And Dark Eldar are like the dummy mummy for degenerate reasons, no different than Sisters of Battle, but you know what I mean. Orcs are just a funny faction. Both of these factions went from this to this. With the Tau, I mean, they didn't change much with them, but I recall how the Tau were the first step to ruining 40k. But that would be an interesting topic to discuss when we get there. But it won't be on this video, maybe some other time. But as far as I'm aware, they haven't changed much with their core lore, other than the Imperium finding out that they were just telepathically manipulating the Tau, which sounds pretty neat. But other than that, the Tau stays the same. Tyranids, now, the king of stalemates. This unstoppable force and genetically adaptable in a couple of days or in hours was being on about 2 to 3 stalemates and 2 losses from Space Marines plot armor. So much for them to being a threat. Chaos? I mean, look at the models and art. Too much rule of cool and some silliness aspects than to make them a lot more cooler and serious. This is very, very important to understand here. If the enemy you fight isn't a threat because it's being humanized and we as the audience are sympathetic to the enemy, then what is the point of them being a threat? Might as well play diplomacy games in space opera instead. To a certain extent, Helldivers 2 did this very well. Sure, the bugs are used for oil, the automatons are used for hard labor, and we stole the Illuminates tech, but the most important thing, it's either them or us mentality of who's going to be extinct, or who's going to lose. And before we get into that, we are going for the annoying part.
You can't escape me!
You there! Yes, you! Are you interested doing something much greater? A cause, a purpose to fulfill? Then why don't you join in my legion, the Hoppledust Legion? They're hoplites but in space, with guns and all that. You get the idea. A legion so great it will put the Ultramarines to shame. To join in the legion, there are different tiers. You can have a look on Patreon. Unless you want something much more convenient, then you can go on YouTube memberships with emotes and badge to put on yourself with your prideful rank. If you don't like other options, then you can go to Ko-Fi, where there is a place where you can name your price and send a message if you need to. What do you get in return, you say? Well, I've considered to add your name in the Hall of Fame at the end of my video to show my appreciation of you sacrificing your wallet for the Legion. And it will make me more committed to do more videos in the future. So what are you waiting for? Become something greater. Join us, brother. And together, we'll wipe the degeneracy off the planet. That is all for this advertisement. Even though you skipped it, you fucking heretic.
Heretic.
And now, let's get back to the video. If we think about the modern 40k aspect, where I covered 40k characters not dying and talking about in general in other videos after 8th edition, nothing has been happening whatsoever. 10th edition was meant to be the Leviathan big threat going directly to Terra, and now they're just held on a stalemate like in the Octaris War. And 9th edition is meant to be this big Indomitus crusade fighting against Necrons, and nothing really happened that much. We never really got a conclusion about the Indomitus crusade, or if there's a success or a failure. We got nothing from that. Like, I really can't wait for another plot armor win for the Imperium. I'm just curious of what is going to be this time around. A Psyker just shits himself and boom, he has a warp portal that sucks all the Tyranids into space again. Wow, how convincing. Eldar just teaming with the Imperium permanently, and now they have a way to maybe reinstate their empire because they have this fucking god figure that just reincarnate people from death without soul stones and all that. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I mean, what's the point of grimdark at this point, because they were meant to be a dying race. Necrons are just bickering with each other and maybe negotiate with the Imperium if they feel like it. Orcs just come out as a comedic relief just for goofs and laughs. Haha, this orc just slapped an Imperial Guardsman across the road. How funny is that? Isn't that satire, guys? Ha ha! Dark Eldar are just degenerate pirates who do tricks after the negotiation. I mean, Chaos, if they feel like it, they might as well do another Black Crusade and maybe do on that asteroid of Cadia again, since they didn't finish the job properly. All this that I mentioned, and probably there'll be more, but in this video, all of these makes the enemy's threat value just lessen even more than to what we used to have. To lessen the enemy as a threat by humanizing them and being more sympathetic than being diplomatic with them and seeing this as a normal thing, haha, without really understanding, you know, the word grimdark and there was always wars and we're fighting for survival. Like, fuck, yeah, you know what, fuck that. Might as well just be more sympathetic to the alien because they were being misunderstood. And the whole point is negotiating with aliens and heretics is just pure heresy by the Imperium's vision. And heresy is something in 40k it should be looked down upon. That's why chaplains are there for a reason. Commissars are there for a reason. It is to keep people and Space Marines into line and not doing anything suspicious, and if they do, boom, headshot. Or they're just gonna rip their necks if they want. You lessen the threat of the enemy, you lessen the seriousness, you get less grimdark elements of what 40k is meant to portray for many years until they just ruined it completely in 8th edition. You can see this from art, from what is written in the lore, who's writing the lore, and what those authors are following. Are they doing a political message or for a genuine good story? And most of the time, with new books that I've been showing over and over and over again, it's more pushing the message and just subtly add stuff into the books. Same comes with animation, same with models. And it all goes back to Warhammers for everyone, and we can represent and diversify anyone that we want, because fuck you. In conclusion, in order to have an enemy is to have a serious threat. And when you have a serious threat, you have a purpose. And when you have a purpose, then you have a means to fight the enemy in any possible way you want. When you are the Imperium, fighting multiple enemies of mankind against all over your empire, humanity has to play dirty in order to get the upper hand and to win its fights with the best technology and the best manpower they possess. If all of these threats that we have today in modern 40k, at this point, why would the Imperium do that at this point? Might as well just play diplomacy games and just favor one each other to get some benefits. Than to have an eternity of war and slaughter and the whole point of grimdark in the far future and all that. So, you know what? So much for modern 40k being grimdark right now. That is all for this video. You can check me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, and YouTube memberships. You can check me on Discord if you like, or YouTube's community page, or now it's called Post if you want any updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye, my brothers, and take care.
Rise up in the